What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the next episode of HITSZN. Today's guest is a great fellow. He is an athlete that has now turned collegiate coach, all-star coach, all the things cheer. Bird.
Hey guys, thank you for having me on here.
Yeah, for sure. So, Bird, you go by Bird, right?
Yep.
Tell me about how you got the name Bird.
I got it in high school. I was hanging out with some friends, and one of them asked to borrow my big yellow jacket, and I gave it to her. And I kind of looked at her. I'm like, you kind of look like Big Bird. And I started like flapping my wings. And from there on, I got the name. I mean, it's not like a fun story. It really isn't.
Well, I wanted to establish here. So when we keep calling you Bird, people are like, why? So, okay, how did you get introduced to cheer?
Let's see. In middle school, I was part of a visual performing arts school. So it was mainly just dance, art, just anything visual performing, basically. And they started a cheer team back up at the school. They used to have one, then they stopped. And then I ended up joining that. And then from there on, it kind of just stuck with cheer. It kept bouncing between dance and cheer because I love both. I still love both. But cheer definitely stuck with me since middle school.
That's amazing. So what is it like, fast forward, you were just getting started and now you're, looking at world's teams, you're talking about winning championships. What is it like if you were to go back and look at yourself 10 years ago? Would you have ever thought this was your life?
Oh, definitely not. I'd be something completely different right now. I remember growing up, I wanted to be a oceanologist, or just anything to deal with animals, to be honest. I remember when I was really young, I said I wanted to be a lawyer, but that's after watching Legally Blonde. And then I saw all the work you got to go into that. I'm like, you know what? That's not what we're going to go for.
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit, worlds. That's awesome. All that is what every kid aspires to be. They want to be on that stage. First comes Summit. They're on that stage. They see these incredible athletes. And then their next goal is Worlds. What is it like being around those athletes, being, constantly being around the best of the best?
It definitely, the way I see it, I see the kids now compared to what I grew up with, which cheerleading back then was obviously completely different compared to how it is now. But seeing that same fire in the athletes that I had when I was younger, it really makes me happy to see that that love for the sport is shared throughout all generations growing up in cheerleading. So it makes me happy.
That's awesome. What's it like competing on that stage?
Well, for me, I didn't even think 2 seconds or anything, because after my first time competing at Worlds, we warmed up and then we were about to circle up. Then they're like, next on the stage. So I didn't even get to think about it. I just went out there. But then after that, I kind of look back at it and I'm like, wow, I really had that globe behind me. And I had the gear behind me. And after that, I'm just like, wow, I actually did it. I got to compete against the world, basically.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
I love seeing those teams, and they come out with just that swagger because they know whether they are representing their dream team or another team that is just as well known. When you're at Worlds, you have made it. So I just can't even imagine what it was like to just have that feeling, to be like, oh my gosh, like I made it. How has that translated into you coaching?
I kind of think about it as if I'm that one kid back on, starting cheerleading again. And my goal was to get to a Worlds team and eventually be able to compete there. I kind of look at it like that. Like I'm giving them that same experience that I had growing up and making sure that they love the sport specifically, because it's kind of like a gateway for a lot of the kids. It's for them to get away from the real life. And this is where they become a different person, just like how it was for me. So I kind of look at it like that.
Did you make from school cheer? Did you make your way into all-star cheer after school?
I did school cheer first, middle school and high school. I did school cheer. Then my senior year is when I decided to do all-star. And that's just because my parents wouldn't pay for it. They're like, this is expensive and you're already doing school cheer. So I'm like, okay, I get it. So I ended up getting a job and paying for it myself.
Where did you cheer?
It was a little gym called Florida Cheer Legacy. It was only open for 2 years, sadly. And that's where I met my coach, Coach JoJo. He was like a role model for me. And from there on, I kind of kept switching gyms, but it was not so much as like, because people call it gym hoppers. I wasn't a gym hopper, just I moved a lot. So I never got to stay at the same place. So from there I went to, I believe it was Evolution All-Stars. And then from there I went to Broward Elite. And in between all that, I cheered at Top Gun for a year on 04. And then I moved up here.
What do you... So gym hopping, you were an athlete in that time frame of gym hopping. Looking back at that, what was your experience like moving from gym to gym to gym? And how were you kind of treated?
Well, different cultures. I was treated kind of like the same. It was nothing different or anything. I never got looked at as like a gym hopper because people knew I was constantly moving.
Gotcha.
You know? So, I mean, looking back at it, it was a lot of different cultures at every gym because not every gym is going to be exactly the same unless it's, you know, these franchise gyms that are like, most of them are doing everything exactly the same at every single location they have. But being able to see how every gym does, you know, their tumbling technique or the way they stunt, it was cool to learn from that. And that's how it kind of like built my knowledge as a coach too.
I love that how you talked about like it's every gym kind of does things differently. So what have you learned and what have you implemented in the teams that you have coached that what have you taken away? What do you like? Or maybe what do you don't like?
Well, I've taken just different coaching styles into, you know, because being coached by so many different coaches, I've learned what works and what doesn't work. And I want to make sure that my kids feel one, safe, and myself and Kendall, we do like our own little podcast. And yesterday we talked about the difference between coaching to win and coaching to love on these kids. You actually need to do both. You know what I mean? And there's times where you need to love on the kid and let them know like, hey, I'm here for you. But then also when it's time to lock in and be like, hey, like we're doing this because you like winning. We like winning. The parents like winning. But it comes into play both, you know? So I do a little bit of both. Like I'm a little bit harsh when it comes to coaching, but then also that's because I love on the kid and I want to see their best potential.
Of course.
Yeah, you want to see the success come out of it. Because if we were only just doing this for, you know, hugs and pats on the back, then we wouldn't be able to compete with the best of the best for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. So when you're coaching now, how many teams do you coach now?
I coach 4 all-star teams, one of them being a half-year team. And then I coach at University of North Carolina at Charlotte, UNCC. I'm one of the assistant coaches there as well.
How is it over there at the collegiate level from your all-star coaching?
I mean, they're all adults. So when you come in and you tell them, hey, this is what we're doing, let's go ahead and do it. You know, they get to it. Kids obviously can be a little stubborn and they want to give you attitude. Take their time and give a little attitude. But there it's just walking in and it's, you know, let's do this. They automatically start doing it, you know. So it's definitely a very big difference compared to all-star and collegiate. So I always tell kids like, hey, make sure you also get some school cheer in your, you know, in your repertoire there, just because you're not walking into the same like experience, not the same culture.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you coach, you said 6 teams?
5 in total.
5 teams. What are the age ranges that you're coaching?
So at All-Star, I am doing 3 junior teams.
Okay.
So 16 all the way to about like 7 or 8. And then I have 1 youth team, which is our half-year team. So that's all 12 to 8, around that age range. And then obviously the collegiate teams, they're all like 18 plus.
I've heard junior age is like the sweet spot as far as the kids are focused, you know, the senior age, they're off on their boyfriends looking for college and all the craziness. The youth teams, they get a little crazy too, as the mom of a youth athlete. But I've heard junior is like a sweet spot. Talk a little bit about the junior kids.
Junior age, like I feel like it's the perfect spot because they want to be there. Their love is still there for it. Because the senior kids, like you still have that, but then that's, you know, they start growing up. They're going through their hormones, everything. So it becomes a little harder, and that's where the attitude starts to come through. I'm not gonna lie, because I've coached open teams all the way through to tiny novice. So I've done every age group, and junior age is really where it's at because those kids want to work hard. And I see that when I come into the gym, they love the sport. They want to work hard. And I mean, just like for my junior one, I have a junior elite one. Those kids, when they come in, they're like,
Locked
all right,
in,
let's do
ready
this.
to go.
Let's do it. You know what I mean? Because they want it so bad.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that, right? Because you've got the little ones who are like, "Yay, this is fun!" And
Like
then,
my mom put me in this.
right? I'm here because mom put me here, right? And then they're like, "Oh, wait a minute, this is actually kind of fun, more fun." And then it's like junior, you're like, "Oh wow, okay." I'm like locked. This is all I have to do. I can't drive. I can't be going out doing all this other extracurricular stuff. So I'm just locked into cheer. And then you get a little bit older and it's like, well, wait a minute. Now I have my license. I can go out and hang out. I'm not going to go to practice. But I guess the question would be do you think it's easier or harder in today's market to get the younger kids locked in earlier to see that path all the way through?
I think it's actually really easy to get the younger ones locked in because, I mean, they find something, they find where they belong and they find what their thing is. And cheerleading becomes that thing. And I've seen that when I coached a half-year team 3 years ago, some of those kids are actually 4 years ago, those kids are still at the gym.
Wow.
And they're like full locked in. I mean, one of them went from our novice youth level 1 and now she's on our junior elite 3. You know what I mean? So like, I see that like they want to be in there. I mean, those are the kids that are the gym rats. They're in the gym every single day. It doesn't matter if they're tumbling. It doesn't matter if they're in a class or they're stunting. They just want to be there.
Yes.
Do you know anybody like that?
I do. So our daughters, this is their first year on junior for both of them. And so just watching the shift between like that youth mindset to, we want to be there and they are at the gym way too often.
We always joke
day.
If they had a cot underneath the tumble floor or the tumble track, that's where they would sleep.
Just bring them a easy built tent. They'll just
exactly. Slide them some pizza every couple days, and they'll be golden and they're good to go. It's like they can't just. It's like they're fiending for it, which is good, right? Like, but how do you harness that as a coach? Because at the end of the day, they are kids. How do you harness that as a coach to say, okay, I have these athletes. I have a athlete that I know is just completely all in. How do you harness that, but also foster it to be scalable, essentially, longevity?
Not in a bad way, but I use those kids to encourage the other ones. So it all depends. It's like your practices and your team is all based off of who's on the team and who's going to be encouraging the team, because you want to find those positive outlets to spread the positivity. Because like the moment you find, for instance, it's like cancer, the moment you find that, you're going to want to get rid of it. That's the same thing you want to do with teams.
Yeah, and that's tricky, right? Because you're taking all these individuals, and on some of these medium and large teams, I mean, there's upwards of 30 girls. And so you're taking 30 girls that all like the one common thing of cheer, but they are all on total different journeys in their cheer career and whatever. And you got to try to get them all to kind of come together for 2.5 minutes. Where does the encouragement, and then coming back to your coaching style, that encouragement and like loving on them, but also feeling strict because you want to win, how is that a difficult process?
No, for us, at least at CAC, it's not, because what we do definitely at the beginning of every practice is a check-in with the kids and be like, hey, how's your day? How's it going? I mean, our TR Worlds team, they have a thermometer with all their little names on clips, those little like wooden clips.
Clothespins, yeah.
Clothespins. And it's like 100%, 90%, 50%. And we kind of like tell them, hey, how are you feeling today? And then we clip it on there. And they're telling us like how we're feeling today. And if it's anything under 50%, like, hey, you need to go and take a walk or maybe just not do practice today. You know what I mean? But we rarely have that. It's always 16 above.
That's awesome.
But what a great early detection for like a warning of some kind.
Exactly.
You know, we have talked to a lot of different people about, this burnout. They start so early. It used to be that kids started in high school or they started at 13, 14, 15. Mm-hmm. These kids are starting at like 7 or 6 or below. And so how do you mitigate the burnout that comes with, long hours in the cheer gym, heavy pressure in competitions? Like, what are the warning signs that you see? And that's a great way to do that. What are some other ways that you might notice that an athlete is needing some extra love?
Definitely. I mean, the ones that I kind of notice first are the ones that are trying to get their skills. They're trying to move up every single year. I always say take it slow. And then the moment I start seeing where like they're starting to fall out of love with it, I definitely want to do a parent check-in. I want to talk to the parents. I want to talk to the kid like, hey, what's up? Like, what's going on? You know what I mean? And if sometimes, I mean, it's sad to do it. Like if it is like they need a break, okay, it's okay to take a year off. It is 100% okay to take a year off because I did that as well. I had a whole gap year where I was just like, okay, maybe it's time to just stop all the way leading up to when I cheered at Top Gun. The year after, I just stuck to coaching. And then the next year, I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to get back in there and start competing again. And it's like I say, breaks are needed, 100%.
Yeah, I think that's important too, especially coming from an athlete to a coach and even coaching at the collegiate level. I think a lot of kids think that as soon as they get out or they need to take a break, that they're going to lose everything. They're going to be left in the dust. Everyone's going to be light years ahead of them. But sometimes it's placing that mindset of the athlete first instead of what everybody else's perception could be.
Yeah, I love that because we actually have an athlete that at our gym is last year they were on our daughter's team, and she said right from the beginning, I'm taking a year off, and she didn't try out. She didn't, and she was so confident in her decision that I know when she comes back in the spring, she's going to be that much stronger. And it was really inspiring to see such a young athlete at 10 years old to be like, this is too much for me. I can't do this. Like it's just too much pressure.
That's also another thing. Definitely kids that are aware of themselves and aware of their bodies. That also comes into play as well. Cause I mean, I've had kids too, where like they immediately jump onto a level 2 team and literally come up to me and be like, I'm not ready for this. And then, they want to be bumped down. It's always good to have good to have kids that are aware of themselves and their body and their mental health and know when it's time to stop or time to take a break.
Yeah, it's definitely helpful, right? Because then you're not fighting against something, you're working with them.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're able to kind of be a cohesive unit from a coaching, athlete, parent perspective and to be able to move in the directions that you need to be able to move in for the best, for the child. That's crazy. So let's talk about your experience at Top Gun. Obviously, everybody knows Top Gun.
Yeah.
It's the TG. Everybody knows about it. So let's talk about what was your experience like over there?
Well, Top Gun, I mean, I'm going to be 100% honest. I've always been honest with everybody, with everything that I talk to them about and the experiences I've had. At Top Gun, I got taught how to be an athlete, and I got taught how to do new skills and stuff like that, which I love. I wasn't really a big fan of who I cheered with. That definitely was what took a toll on me, and that's when I told myself, hey, I need a break.
Sure.
Because obviously I'm at that age where I know where like not everyone's gonna like me, not everyone's gonna be on that train that I'm on, and that's okay. That's 100% okay. But definitely some of the people that I was with definitely didn't make my time there the best. But definitely what they taught me was how to be an athlete. I improved as an athlete being there, 100%. I will always say that. Also, it's not like that for everybody. It's not like that on every team. It was just that certain year for me was definitely not it. And especially growing up and trying to figure myself as well. Because I was 20 when I cheered there and I was still trying to figure myself out. You know what I mean? And I mean, I'm only, 4th year into Allstar at that point. So it's like,
scratching the surface.
Yeah, trying to figure it out. But definitely now, I mean, I've had a bunch of long-lived, friends from there that I was still in contact with. I mean, my friend Kadeen, we cheered there. She came from World Cup. She came down, cheered there at Top Gun for like 2 years. And we're still friends. My friend Landon, who's from Louisville, Kentucky, we're still friends. So I've met a lot of people who were out of state, which I was surprised to be around so many people like that. Most of the people were actually Top Gun. Most of the people that I cheered with were there way before. They had grew up there. You know what I mean?
It was their home gym.
It was their home gym.
And I love that you're so honest about like, this wasn't the great fit for me, but it might be for you. And
exactly,
I think that is what so many people miss in the cheer world. They're like, it's my gym or the highway.
Yeah.
And, sometimes you might go to a gym that is absolutely incredible gym that scores well. They check all the boxes, quote unquote, but it might not be a great fit for you. And that's okay.
Which is exactly like what I tell everybody. I mean, one of our kids, Leo Green, he was on Teal. He went down there this year. He's on TGLC this year, and he's doing phenomenal. He loves it. He talks about it all the time. I mean, when I went down there and visited him, I had dinner with him. He was telling me how much he loved it. I tell that to everybody that not every gym is for everyone. And we even say that for us. I mean, Kendall and I talked about it on our podcast too. It's okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like if we're not the right fit for you, we get it. But it's another fit for someone else. You know what I mean? Just like all the gyms in the area. Cheer athletics is a fit for everyone. ATA is a fit for everyone. CUC is a fit for everyone. You know what I mean? It's not everyone's cup of tea, but definitely it is for somebody else.
Yeah, and I think it's all about how we handle that, right? And how we help and how we encourage our athletes. Hey, maybe it was for you this year. Maybe it's not for you next year. Maybe you'll be back. Whatever the case may be, it's all about how we're handling and how we're helping and encouraging that athlete to just keep continuing to better themselves. So what do you think about athletes that will completely plant their whole lives and move across the country to be on a certain type of team, and the parents that will foster that? What do you think about that? Because that's happening.
I mean, I say go for it. It's definitely an experience. I mean, I wanted to do it too growing up. I immediately was like, Mom, I want to move to California. I want to be on Cali All-Stars. And she was like, you go for that once you're an adult and you pay for it yourself. So I was like, okay. I mean, I would still do it now at 28. You know what I mean? Like there's gyms in Texas, there's gyms in Utah, Oregon, and Cali that I'd definitely be like, you know what? I want to cheer. I want to do it again. I'm not saying I'm cheering again because this body will definitely not be able to do it. But if anybody needs me to fill in, I will definitely do it. But for kids, I mean, I say do it. It's a really good experience. I know a little girl that when I was working at a trampoline park down in Miami, down the street from Top Gun. I see her tumbling. I'm like, where do you cheer at? She goes, oh, I'm on Top Gun. She cheers on junior co-ed 6. I'm like, oh, cool. She goes, yeah, my parents moved here from, I think she said from like, she was on World Cup. I worked with them before, but yeah, my whole family moved down here so I could be at Top Gun. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, good for you. You know what I mean? Like that's fun. Your parents are supporting you and, you know, letting you do this sport and stuff. And she's been to, you know, Stingrays as well, moved there as well. I say go for it. It's a really good experience.
It's crazy. And you know, it's not just cheer that happens to. I mean, kids move all over the place for football and basketball, wherever that opportunity is, right? I mean, they're only a kid once. And as we all know that the runway for cheer is much shorter than most sports. And so you got to go for it, right?
Yeah. But I do recommend if the athlete is under 16, definitely don't do it. Like stick to a gym in your area, or even, you know, I understand the hour and a half drive. Once it becomes 2 hours or more, I'm not doing it personally. I'm not doing that. I'm so sorry. That's a lot of gas. But once the kid is older, don't do it at such a young age because, for instance, if it's a kid who's 13 and is traveling all the way to Miami to be like on TGLC or Lady Jags, the caliber and the culture you're there is going to be at a higher level than where you're probably at. So you're probably going to get tired. You're probably going to, you know, push yourself. It's not until, just like I said, the kid knows themselves enough to know that, okay, I can handle this. Let's do it. You know what I mean? But if it's just because like, oh my gosh, I want to be on TGLC. Oh my gosh, I want to be on Cheetahs. Oh, I want to be on SMOED. Think about yourself first. Know that if you're ready to do this, especially if you're going to be going alone, and you're going to be, you know, being housed in a different state without having your family there, definitely know that if you're mentally ready, physically and emotionally, do it.
Our daughters might be rooming together.
Goodness gracious. We got some years ahead of that. Goodness gracious. Well, we have a section, a part of our podcast of Hit Season, where we ask rapid fire questions. So there's two different routes we could go here because you were both an athlete and you're now a coach. So you've got to choose which path you want to go, and then the questions will be fired off based off of that role.
So I have to pick athlete or coach.
You got to pick athlete or coach.
I'm gonna say athlete because I would like to reminisce that and definitely go through that.
All right.
Okay.
Cool. You ready?
All right. Ready. Stunting or tumble?
Stunting. I never liked tumbling. I personally did not like tumbling. It hurt too much. I'm not gonna lie. For some kids, it's for them. I love that for you, but for me, no.
Do you have any competition day suspicions or superstitions?
No, I was always optimistic. I always said, y'all, we're going to hit. It's going to be fine. We're going to do. I was very one of those people where I was like, I'm going to ride with the wave. I'm not going to go against it.
So you never tied your shoe one way or another, or did any split the pole or don't split the pole?
Oh, split the pole is always going to be one thing. I'm not going to lie to you. That's one thing. I don't even care. I'm 28 right now and I scream at my kids. I'm like, don't split the pole.
I just recently learned about split the pole and I was like, I need more info. So maybe that's a future t-shirt design. Don't split the pole.
Would you, if you could choose your team's shoes, white or black?
Depends on the uniform. If you have a black uniform, definitely black shoes. If you have a white uniform, white shoes. But if you have a little mixture of both, I mean, I would automatically go for probably white shoes, especially high top.
If you could choose to cheer at any gym in the country, where would you cheer?
Oh gosh, that's a hard one. I'm trying to think. I would definitely probably Rival Athletics out of Utah.
Incredible. Okay, so you kind of stole mine, so I'm gonna change mine. So if you have a world's team and you're on a world's team and you want to go up against the best of the best team, who would you pick to go up against?
Ooh, definitely Top Gun Revelation.
Yeah, they're incredible.
I would love to, just because they just showcased this past weekend, and you could take them to Worlds and they would probably win. I'm gonna be honest. I haven't seen all the other medium co-ed teams yet, but that one right now is my top one.
What's your favorite division?
Junior Elite Level 1. Believe it or not, the division I'm literally coaching at.
Those back walkovers.
I'm sorry.
Have to be
I'm sorry.
straight
I don't
legs and
care.
pointed toes.
I do not care if you can do a round off handspring whip, full whip double. I want to see you do 3 connected back walkovers with pointed toes and locked legs. And I want to see you do all your sons connected with one hand.
Yes.
Yes. Oh
That's
my
gonna be
gosh.
harder.
Yes. Okay, so what is a snack that you have to have at competition day?
Dippin' Dots. Dippin' Dots or a walking taco. One or the other.
Ooh.
Oh, walking taco. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't
We get it
heard
all the
that
time
one
when we
yet.
go to Ohio.
Favorite competition you've ever competed at?
UCA Nationals. And the only reason why, I know Summit and Worlds is also at Disney, but it's not as nerve wracking and you get to have fun. And I won in 2017. So that's also another reason why.
That's awesome. If you could be coached by any coach in Allstar, what coach would you pick?
I'd probably get recoached by my childhood coach, JoJo, 100%. I lost him in 2020 or 2019, actually. So, if I could do it all over again, I definitely would.
When you're at a competition, are you more of a observer or are you more vocal?
Both. I'm going to look and I'm going to comment. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to do both. And if you're open to feedback and you are one person that's going to take feedback and apply it, 100%. But if you're just going to get butthurt, this is definitely not the sport for you. I'm so sorry.
If you could change one thing about cheer, what would it be? Anything. I'd definitely make a rule about traveling to be on another team. If you live within the state, I would say yes. But if you live across the country and you're trying to go cheer for another gym that's on another side of the country, I would 100% say no. I would say you would have to live in the area for at least a year.
That's interesting.
That is interesting.
Is that a big thing that's happening? Is kids are moving just
It's you're not seeing a lot of boys in cheerleading anymore.
Yep.
Yes.
And it's mainly because they're going to these gyms where they're needing all the boys. You know what I mean? It's kind of hard to see that. Like Cheer Extreme needs all the boys for, C4.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Or Top Gun large co-ed. All the large co-ed, medium co-ed, that's where I'm going to say, and small co-ed, I'm not going to lie. That's where all the boys are needed the most. So that's what I would say. I would make a rule about it. I know a lot of people are going to hate me for it, but I'm trying to make sure cheerleading stays alive. We at Charlotte All-Stars have been in every division. Large, small, medium, all girl, and co-ed. So it's like, I miss seeing that. Again.
What's your biggest advice to a male who is looking to join cheerleading?
I say do it. And there's boys of all sexualities that literally do cheerleading. It's not just the gay ones, because that's automatically going to be and that's why a lot of them don't do it. It's because they are scared of what their friends and things are going to say. But if they're going to think of something, they're not your actual friend. I'm sorry. Your friends support you on anything you do. I would say do it. It's literally one of the best physical sports you could probably do. And it's the hardest. I would say it's the hardest and the most dangerous because, some of the injuries I've seen in the sport are crazy.
Yes, it's pretty crazy. We've actually got a guest going to be coming up on the podcast who's an orthopedic surgeon. And so he's going to
have a mouthful.
Yes, for sure.
He's going to be like, thank you for keeping us in business.
Yes, exactly. Well, Bert, thanks so much for joining us on HITSZN. We're super excited to have a chance to talk to you. And yeah, well, good luck this season at CAC.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
For sure.
Yes, we are thrilled to see your teams take the mat. So we will be rooting them on.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right, everybody. That was with Bird from Charlotte All-Stars. It was a great conversation that we just had about his coaching at the collegiate level and coaching at the All-Star level, and then a little bit of his athlete days. So tune into the next episode. And as always, we'll catch you on the next Hit Season. See ya.